sit down, you don't have to look no further. I have all you need, I'm sugar. I'll be right there. No matter where you can be over there. Going through when chips are down, I'm gonna carry you. I'll be around. And when you're feeling love, I'll be your friend. I am the one for you to know. Until the very end, yeah, yeah. 'Cause I am your friend, yeah. Just call me. I'll be there as your friend. Just call. I'll come running. No greater love than this, than a man lay down his life for a friend. Just call, yeah, I'll come running.
Praise the Lord, everybody. This is Deacon William Hawks, also known as El Presidente, here at Gospel 88.7 FM and 100.3 FM Atlantic City, where we have gospel. And yes, we're still spreading the gospel one song at a time. We want to thank God for all of our listeners who continue to pray for us and support us. Oftentimes, I'm walking down the street and someone asks, Deacon Hawks, El Presidente, I want to help. I want to get involved. I want to do my part. And they say, how can I do that? And I say, you know something? You can log on to our website and participate in our 8 for 88.7. That's right, 8 for 88.7. That's where we ask you to get involved, and you can support us by just donating $8 a month. How do you do that? You just go to our website, www.wehavegospel.com, press the donate button, and just simply support us with $8 a month. It's that simple. Once again, just go to www.wehavegospel.com, click the donate button, and follow the instructions. There you go. It's as simple as that. And once again, we thank you from all of us here at Gospel 88.7 FM and 100.3 FM, where we have gospel and where we're spreading the gospel one song at a time. God bless you.
Let's go. I don't know what you're going through, but we stopped by to tell you that what's in front of you is bigger than what's behind you. Your destiny, your promise, your future. You might as well shout before you get it, because God sent me here to tell you that what he has for you is gonna be big.
I believe
That it's my season.
that it's my season.
You ought to declare that over your own life. Say, I believe
I believe
that it's my time.
that it's my time.
It's my time.
It's my time.
And I can feel it.
I can feel it.
Say, breakthroughs in the room.
Breakthroughs in the room.
It's yours if you want it. Anticipating.
Anticipating.
God's getting ready to move.
God's getting ready to move.
Listen, you ought to declare this over your own life. Say it.
For I know
God,
my God
he's working
is
a miracle
miracle
just for me.
Just for me.
And it's gonna be.
And it's gonna be big.
Hey! Listen, I don't know about you, but I'm excited about my future. Why? It's gonna be big, yeah.
And it's gonna be big.
I'm running into destiny, shouting into my promise. Why? God's gonna
open the windows of heaven.
pour.
Pour me out a blessing.
I won't have room
Won't be wrong to be
Gospel 88.7 WEHA. It's more than music. It's ministry.
WEHA, Port Republic, Atlantic City, and now on FM translator 100.3 W26 2CF, Atlantic City, Pleasantville. Supported radio station. To make a donation, call 609-641-8870. Visit our headquarters at 3 Canal Drive, Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey, 08234. Or log on to our website, wehavegospel.com.
We have gospel.
just tuned in, you're listening to In the Community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon right here on your favorite gospel radio station, two-time Stellar Award-winning radio station, WEHA, 88.7, 100.3 FM. We have gospel. We are live in the studio for you today, and we have a wonderful program, and I want you to make sure you tune in. Our guest is here, and I'm very, very excited about it. This broadcast is being brought to you by the Hawks family businesses who have been serving our community for over 30 years. And Beacon Hall, turning moments into memories. And Christ Gospel Church, the Love Center, Whitesboro, New Jersey, Bishop Edgar Robinson and First Lady Vanessa Robinson. I want to thank all of my sponsors for In the Community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon. And certainly if you want to sponsor my show, you can go to www.wehavgospel.com. All right, there's a few things that are going on in the community and nationwide and globally that I want to make sure that everybody is well aware of. First, I want to congratulate all of the honorees for the Legacy Recognition Awards luncheon today that's being done by the Abundant Life, Bishop John R. Gandy, the Fan family, Pastor Loretta Farmer, Suffolk and Bishop Otis Grayson, and my very own father, Apostle Luke Witherspoon Sr. So congratulations to all of the honorees on today. Also, daylight savings time is coming up. Set those clocks up. 1 hour, and that's going to be on next week, March the 8th. Daylight savings time will start on next week, so we're going to lose that 1 hour of sleep. All right, but that means you have to go to bed just a little earlier. That's all. Go to bed just a little earlier. There are some free tickets that we want to give out, and it's Real Talk Kim, and she's coming into the Vineland area on next week. And the Gathering See Beyond, and this is going to be at the Chestnut Assembly of God Church, and it's being sponsored by the Hand Foundation and Univente Formal Wear, celebrating 40 years. And certainly this is all it is a paid event, but they donated tickets on my show, In the Community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon. So if you would like these tickets, you can call me in at 609-641-8870. All right, and that is option 1. Also, on a national front or global front, everybody's all worked about the coronavirus. Everywhere you go, people got on masks that they don't do no good. They don't work. Okay, so don't go out and buy a mask that doesn't work. You'll do better by washing your hands. Wash your hands all the time. And if you wash your hands, it will really help curtail the virus or any sickness that you have. You can't live in fear. So you can't stop traveling because you're scared that you're going to get the virus. All right? You got to still live. Take precautions. Absolutely. But you still must live, all right? So wash your hands. If you wash your hands, they tell you that even with the regular flu, it will help prevent a lot of diseases, which comes right through the hand, touching things, touching people. All right, we're going to be all right. The coronavirus is not going to take us out. I saw something on Facebook that New York City is expecting 300,000 cases of the coronavirus. How can you project that? How can you project something like that? Unless you're putting the coronavirus out yourself, the government. I mean, I don't believe that they are doing that, but how can you say that there's 300,000 people going to get the coronavirus in New York? How can you say that? So just don't walk around in fear, because God has not given us the spirit of fear, but power, love, and a sound mind. And also, I want everyone to know that our conference is coming up, Westminster Christian Worship Center. Our conference is coming up, and it's going to start on the 15th of March, and it's going to go through the 20th. On the 15th, we have Pastor Willie Johnson Jr. from Eureka Transformation Church out of Wildwood. On that Wednesday, overseer Alicia Oatman, Redeeming Love Christian Fellowship from Galloway. And then on that Friday, we have Apostle Robert Parker, Deeper Life Deliverance Ministries in Hamilton, New Jersey. And then on that Saturday, our annual fellowship prayer breakfast will be held at the Sheraton Hotel and Convention Center, 1 Miss America Way in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And that'll be on March the 21st, 2020. The doors open at 8:30. The program starts promptly at 9:30 a.m. And I am glad that my mom started this. This was her vision almost 30 years ago. We started in the church basement, never despise small beginnings. We started breakfasts in the church basement, and it has grown to where we are today. And we are happy, my brother and I and our church, to continue the legacy. The late Miles Monroe said, if your dream stops when you die, then you haven't done anything. Your legacy must continue even when you're gone. And on that day, we have a guest preacher, Elder Mark Moore. He's well sought out all over the country. He's the founder of the Young Leaders Conference of Atlanta, Georgia. Our musical guest will be Melvin Crispell III, 2019 Sunday Best winner. And praise and worship will be by Tizzer Witherspoon. So we're really excited. Really excited. The donation is $50 in advance, $60 at the door. For more information, you can call 609-400-2108 or 609-457-7675. All right. Well, we're here right in the studio, live in person with the former mayor of Atlantic City, my former boss, Mayor Lorenzo Langford. I can't say you don't know who he is, because this man has been all over in the political arena. He's a songster, and now he's going to be an author. He's a father. He's a husband. I'm telling you, this man is everywhere. I saw him last night out of the Black History program at Atlantic Cape Community College. So, and I often see him on the boardwalk in Atlantic City, and I know that he has Atlantic City at heart. So just in case you don't know who he is, I believe he went to school in North Carolina. All right, 18?
That's correct.
Is that right?
North Carolina Central University.
North Carolina Central University, and I believe he's a Q.
That's correct.
Did I know that? Yeah, I'm pretty good here. All right, and so, but just in case, I want him to say just a little bit about what he's doing now, Mayor Lorenzo Langford.
Well, first of all, let me say good morning to you and to those in your listening audience. And also at this time, let me pause to offer a word of congratulations to you on your ascension to the pastoral universe.
Thank you so much.
Proud of you.
Thank you.
Yep. Just continue to let the Lord lead you. And that's enough that needs to be said about that. Thank you for extending to me the opportunity to come here this morning just for a few minutes to talk about that pressing issue that is happening in Atlantic City, and which will transpire officially, I guess you could say, in about a month on March 31st. And I'm speaking of the vote to change or not the election process in the city of Atlantic City.
Absolutely. And I know I started working for the city in 1981. In 1982, there was a vote to change the government from the commission form of government to the government it is today. And do you know, I don't know why that change occurred.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I was part of that movement, if you will. In 1982, there was something called the Black Summit Conference. The population in Atlantic City, the demographic was starting to change. In the 70s, as a result of all of the tumultuous turmoil that happened in the 60s, we experienced in Atlantic City something that's referred to as white flight, where many of our Caucasian residents started leaving the city for the suburbs. That had an effect that enabled the African American community to become the majority of voters. And the senior fathers, if you will, in the African American community, James Ushery being the central figure, decided that it was time that we should exercise our political might in order that we might be able to directly control our political destiny, which in turn affects our economic and social destiny. And so a bunch of African American leaders got together and decided that it was time. and that we should draft some African American candidates to run for mayor and city council. But in order to do that, we first had to change the form of government from, as you stated, the commission form of government to the mayor council form of government, and we did that successfully.
Yes, you did, and I was there. So before it was commission. So what? I think it was 5 commissioners back then.
It was 5 commissioners.
Right, and then they picked the mayor among themselves.
Exactly.
Now that is currently happening in different parts of our county, in Carper Township, Hamilton Township, Brigantine, and so some people would say, "Well, what's the big issue of changing the form of government? Is happening in other parts of the country, county."
Yeah, and to each his own.
Right.
Far be it from me to criticize anyone who decides which form of government that they think will best represent the needs and the will of the people. But in our particular case, in the city of Atlantic City, I happen to believe that the mayor-council form of government is the best way for us to govern ourselves. It gives the residents a direct voice in electing who their representation should be. As you know, the city of Atlantic City is divided into 6 wards.
Right.
And so each neighborhood or community, if you will, has an opportunity to elect their chosen representative. And then they also have the opportunity to elect the mayor, who is the chief executive officer of the city. Such is not the case in the commission form of government or in this municipal charter, as they refer to 1923 municipal charter, which would attempt to move it to a town manager form. In those 2 situations, the 5 members of the commission or council will be selected at large. So you lose the opportunity to have that direct neighborhood or community representation. You could end up in a situation where you could have the 5 council members all coming from the same neighborhood,
Right.
All coming from the same ward, all coming from the same project, if you will.
And so they may not know you, or may not know the constituents in that particular ward.
Or may not care.
Or may not care.
You know, the one thing about the councilmatic form of government, you take a ward representative, 4th ward, I'll use that for an example. If we, the residents of the 4th ward, are not happy with the representation that we're getting from our member of council, then at the next election, that person has to come and see the electorate, and we can make our dissent or our appreciation, our approval known.
Right.
If you have 5 council members all from the same district, all from the same neighborhood, they don't have as much impetus to serve the entire city
Right.
as someone who's directly elected from a particular community.
I agree with that. I really do. And don't have the same concerns, don't know
Absolutely.
the people, and can't really represent them.
And theoretically, it would be easier for them to just sort of sweep things under the rug. In other words, all 5 are elected at large.
Right.
So if I, for an example, have a problem that my trash is not getting picked up, let's say,
Right.
and I call one of the council people, they can say, well, I'll get back to you. Why didn't you call one of the other 5?
Right.
You know, you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Well, if that's the case now, since I live in the 4th ward, I'm going to call that 4th ward council person.
Absolutely.
And he can't pass the buck.
No.
He's got to deal with that issue.
Absolutely.
So we're talking about accountability, and we're talking about responsibility.
Absolutely. And I want to say for the record that I, for 2 months, had tried to get Bob McDevitt on the show to hear the other perspective. Never received any phone calls back. I called Senator Lesniak, and he told me that Bob McDevitt would be the person that would be able to come here and speak. And I do know in 1982 he was not for the change of government. I do know that.
Okay.
All right. So since then, now he has a change of heart.
Well, I didn't know that, but what I will say is that Bob McDevitt was part of the effort to make sure that we kept the mayor form of government, if my memory serves me correctly.
Commissioner or mayor?
Mayor.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And so, you know, I don't know where he was in '82, but he seems to have departed from where he once was when I first had the occasion to get to know Bob. But let me say this, we should not focus on what the other side is doing in that vein. We have to be more focused on what we're doing. I am here because I want everybody to know where I stand. I am adamantly and vehemently opposed to the change of government. As I said, I think the mayor-council form of government, while not perfect, is perfect for us. And if we do not serve in the way that the electorate thinks that we should, they always have the opportunity to make that change. So let's concentrate on what we need to do. Those of you who understand what's going on, I'm imploring you, I'm urging you to do all that you can to spread this message of how vitally important it is that we get out on March 31st and defeat this question. Bob McDevitt, Ray Lesniak, the owner of resorts, let them do what they're going to do. It doesn't matter. What matters is what we do.
Absolutely. But I don't think that people understand that if a manager is put in place, after 3 years, they have tenure, from what I understand, and then they cannot be moved.
There's a lot riding on this. There's a lot at stake.
Right.
And again, my focus is on me spreading the word and encouraging and influence all that I'm able to come out and make our voices heard. You know, I'm reminded of Shirley Chisholm, who, since this is Black History Month,
I love Shirley Chisholm.
who was the first African-American candidate to run for president. She admonished us as a community one time, and I'm going way back to the 80s again.
Yeah.
She said, be careful what you do or don't do, because two things are certain. You'll get what you deserve, and you'll deserve what you get. So we can't sit back and just take this thing for granted. And if we do, we'll get what we deserve, and we'll deserve what we get.
I think people are banking on people not coming out to vote, hoping that it rains.
I share that sentiment.
Yeah, and that if it rains, then they're not going to show up and they're not going to come out. But I beg to differ. I think that people are really concerned. They're getting out more involved, not only on a national level, but on a local level,
Right.
because I believe that you build things from the bottom up. Not from the top down.
That's right.
From the bottom up.
Let's talk about, you know, the consequences of not showing up to vote and taking this thing for granted and having the yes question rule the day. Whenever there are consequences, there are repercussions, and repercussions are even worse. We talked about the representation or lack thereof if we lose the mayor-council form of government. We talked about the accountability or lack thereof of those members who will select, those members of city council who will select a town manager who may not even be somebody that we know as a community. They could pick somebody from East Jablip or East Cupcake, Missouri. What do we have to do? You know, we would have no say in that matter. It would be Hudson's choice. But even beyond that, the decisions that would be made by this town manager.
Such as?
Well, he could come up with any decision, and the council could back that. We could lose
Police department?
We could lose the police department. Mm-hmm. Let's take employment. Those of us who have served on city council and served as mayor, one thing we all have in common is that we always look to promote Atlantic City first.
That's true.
When job opportunities come up, we try to make sure that you're qualified, capable, and deserving. And if you are, and you're an Atlantic City native, you go to the front of the line. Well, such may not be the case if you get a town manager that's hired by this council who's going to come from East Jablip or East Cupcake, Missouri. What does he care? He's not rooted in the community.
He's not invested.
He's not invested in the community. Mm-hmm. So that will be a consequence. Things that are important to us, things that we might consider mundane, such as concerts at Gardeners Basin. That might be something that takes a hit and is taken out of the budget. You know, all of us have an affinity for the Soldiers Home. We were there last night. Angie Burton, shout out, had a wonderful event there last night that I attended as well. That building is used for a multitude of purposes. Somebody who is not vested in the community wouldn't have the same passion for making sure that that building stays afloat as the rest of us does.
Exactly.
And so, you know, there are a number of things to consider. Gardeners Basin, the Soldiers Home, city jobs, city contracts. You know, we always try to make sure that Atlantic City businesses and Atlantic City professionals, I'll give you an example. there are certain judgeships and other positions that become available. In my tenure, I was fortunate to be able to appoint 3 judges in the city of Atlantic City. All of them were homegrown.
Right.
I'm very proud of that. And so when you lose that kind of connection,
Right.
Issues such as making sure that ex-offenders have the right to be considered for employment. Not to say that they automatically will get a job, but at least they're able to apply for a job, and when their number comes up, they won't be discriminated against simply because they are ex-offenders and have a jacket.
Didn't you start that program?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, in the
Proudly.
city, in the city of Atlantic City,
Mm-hmm.
because it's very difficult when people have paid their debt to society to come back, and every door has been shut in your
That's
face.
correct. But again, imagine, someone from outside of the walls of Atlantic City. They're not going to be as sensitive to those issues as those of us who live here would be. And so this change of government has far-reaching consequences and repercussions, and the residents of Atlantic City need to remain cognizant of that, and to remain ever vigilant to make sure that we defeat this question.
All right, and I also want to talk about, there's always been a word out, I should say, about making Atlantic City a total resort, and that no residents would live in Atlantic City. Now, I'm not saying that form of government would do that because they're doing housing, but they would make it so expensive where the people couldn't live there.
Well, indirectly, they could do that, by making decisions that adversely affect the population in Atlantic City. A cascade of negative consequences could evolve as a result of the decisions that they make. And so ultimately, when you affect the quality of life, you affect decisions. And if you're being taxed out of the city of Atlantic City, if other things happen that make you say, you know what, it's time for me to move out of state or offshore or something like that, then it's going to happen. So again, it's important to have people who live in Atlantic City, who are vested in the city of Atlantic City, and who really genuinely care about the Atlantic City, making decisions that affect the city.
Now, I really don't understand why, because a certain portion of the city is controlled by the state. Right?
Well, actually, all of it is, ultimately.
That's true, too, when you talk about it. Everything is already under the state's auspices, right?
Right.
So are they saying that the state's not doing a good job?
Well, it's interesting to me that the state has been relatively quiet on this issue. I'm scratching my head wondering why they haven't, at this point, taken a bolder stance on what they think should happen and where the city should go. I'm very surprised that they haven't been more aggressively speaking out on this issue.
Because they have been here for a little minute.
They've been here since 2008.
2008.
In one form, one shape or form or another.
Now, the SR 13, am I saying that right? Is that the boardwalk portion where the casino?
You're talking about the tourism district.
The tourism district,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So they were
Senate Resolution SR. You're right.
SR 13.
Right.
So they already have control of the tourism district, which was baffling to me, to even try to divide a city as small as Atlantic City.
Right. First of all, let me say this. The state's tentacles, if you will, have reached into the city sort of like on a macro level. But local residents are still able to have some control on the micro level. For an example, we just talked about jobs, and it may seem routine and perfunctory, but you take the Marty Small administration or the Frank Gilliam administration, the Don Guardian administration, the Lorenzo Langford administration, Jim Whalen, Jim Ushery, etc. Atlantic City residents for all jobs are able to come and apply and have a reasonable expectation that they're going to be treated fairly. So the state hasn't, at this point, micromanaged to the degree that they start approving or not who gets hired for certain entry-level positions in the city of Atlantic City. And so in that regard, we're still able to govern ourselves, which is very important. If your next-door neighbor has a son or daughter that's graduating from college and seeks to come back to the city, and a job opening happens to open in any division, any department, that person has a right to apply for that position and have a reasonable expectation that they're going to be considered. And not only have a reasonable expectation that they're going to be considered, but they should have a reasonable expectation that nobody from outside of the city is going to move in front of them if they're qualified, capable, and deserving. And all administrations, I believe, have held to that standard and that ideal. And so we have protected the interests of Atlantic City residents in that regard.
Well, that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
And that's something that we don't want to.
We don't want to lose that.
We don't want to lose that.
Now, I might hire somebody that, you might have thought somebody else should have gotten that job. Or any other mayor might have hired somebody and could have had some naysayers saying, well, somebody else should have gotten that job. But one thing's for sure, whoever gets the job, 9 times out of 10 is going to be Atlantic City, an Atlantic City resident who's qualified, capable, and deserving.
And deserving of doing the job. This is a very interesting conversation, and I want you to make sure that you vote on March the 31st. They're not looking for you to vote.
That's right.
They're not looking for you to vote.
I share your perspective that the other side is banking on apathy. And the only way that they carry the day is if Atlantic City residents stay home and don't participate in the process. I truly believe that if the residents come out and vote, that overwhelmingly this question will be defeated. But we can't take for granted that folk are going to come out. We have to make sure that everybody that we know, everybody that we can touch and influence, that we do so and encourage them to the best of our abilities to come out and make their voices known and heard on March 31st.
And I want to say, because we have a couple seconds before the interview, it is unfair for the city to be blamed for stuff that the state has already, they don't own the trash no more.
Listen, that's a subject for another day.
No, but I just have to say that because they're blaming.
And I can count the ways. So maybe in the future I'll come back and we will elucidate on that issue. And like I said, that's a program in and of itself.
Hold on. We'll be right back. it's going to be all right. I guess that was prophetic. I wasn't looking to hear that, but I guess I needed to hear, and you needed to hear out there in radio land that it's going to be all right. Listen, I only have a few more minutes with the mayor, former mayor of Atlantic City, Mayor Lorenzo Langford, and we're talking about the vote that's going to be on March the 31st in Atlantic City. This is just the right thing to be talking about at this time. He's the second black mayor for Atlantic City, so it's Black History Month. I'm ending it with a bang.
Yes, you are.
So I'm really excited about that. But listen, a lot of people are saying that the city is mismanaged, and that's the reason why there's got to be a change of government.
You know, I reject that argument. Certainly, there are things that we could have done better, but this whole notion that the state has to come in and run Atlantic City because we are not able to manage our affairs and have in fact mismanaged our affairs is totally erroneous, and I reject it. Let me give you an example. In 2008, the rateable base in Atlantic City, that is to say the value of all the properties in Atlantic City, was $20 billion, and that's the basis by which we derive our tax revenue. Today, the rateable base is $4 billion. Now, the city doesn't regulate or legislate anything that has to do with casinos. Casinos are regulated by the state.
Right.
They're legislated by the state. So the situation that left us in dire financial straits has more to do with the downturn in the economy and the decline in the rateable base in the city of Atlantic City. It has very little to do with how the city manages its financial affairs. So it's grossly inadequate to suggest that we're in the situation that we're in because of mismanagement.
Right, because that's what you hear, and that's what they're using to sell.
For an example, when I came back in 2008, the state left us with a list of recommendations, not recommendations, it was an edict, 35 things that we had to comply with. We expeditiously resolved, I'm sorry, it was 37. We expeditiously resolved 35 of the issues, leaving 2. The 2 that was left for us to deal with were council cars and council aides. Now, every penny is important, but let me give you an example real quickly. If you're talking about 5 or 6 council aides who make roughly, $30,000 a piece, you're talking 150, 180 grand.
Right.
The council at that time was purchasing 3 cars a year at 20,000 a piece. That's 60. 60 and 180, do the math, right? That's less than $250,000. At the time, it took $3 million to take a penny off the tax rate.
That's true.
So even by slashing that $250,000, it had a negligible or almost no effect on taxes in the city of Atlantic City. Yet, a tabernacle was built around those issues, and the public perception, thanks to the media, was that the city was going to hell in a handbasket and that our financial house was in disarray. Nothing could have been further from the truth.
No, that wasn't true at all. Now, I understand that the states, they come in for a certain amount of time and then they're looking to renew the state.
Of course. And that is an indication as to what this is really all about. It's about controlling jobs and contracts. When Chris Christie was governor, he sent his personal law firm down here to oversee the city's affair. Check the record and find out what the cost to Atlantic City taxpayers were to have them, quote unquote, correct what was wrong.
What I do know, and I'm not throwing shade, that they was getting paid over $400 and some an hour. And at that time, people who had retired and had been at the city for a number of years, including myself, had not received we did, eventually, but we had not even received our rightfully earned retirement money, and it was held up.
Give you another case in point. When I left office, the solicitors, the city solicitor was earning $96,000 a year. That same solicitor, when the state came in, then was raised to $140,000 a year. The business administrator, when I left office, was earning $104,000 a year. Under the state, the business administrator was raised to $170,000 a year.
Wow.
So, as you said, the rank and file employees, the union employees, whether it's white collar, blue collar, supervisors union, etc., were denied raises. But the guys at the top who were appointees of state officials were getting the gravy. So that's a case in point to demonstrate what I'm talking about. The perception is that the city was mismanaged and was on its way to hell in a handbasket. But the reality is that the state wanted to come in so that they can control jobs and contracts. Atlantic City is a goose that laid the golden egg, and the state recognizes that, and that's why they're really here.
Well, you cannot blame the city if the state is here. You know, that's what it's mind-boggling to me. If the state is here and they're in control of the finances, then since 2008.
Since 2008.
Then how?
They've either had oversight,
right,
which means everything we do they have to approve, or they've had direct control, which means they don't have to ask us for anything. They just go ahead and do it. Either way you slice it, the state is ultimately responsible.
Absolutely. So it's not the city. So I think it's very important that we look at stay woke. Now, you know what? When people were saying stay woke, I didn't realize that was a Republican. I didn't know that that's what they were using. Stay woke. Stay woke. But now that's the true phrase. Stay woke. You cannot allow people to come in and take a right away from you. There's so many people have fought and paid for to make sure that you have. Your vote and your voice is all you have. It's all you have.
And we would do well to exercise that vote every chance we get. Again, I agree with you that there is opposition out there who are banking on the fact that apathy has a death grip on the city of Atlantic City, and people have just given up and we don't care. And therefore, the numbers at the polls will reflect that on Election Day. But I sincerely hope and pray that is not the case, that people understand the urgency that is at hand, and that we will exercise our franchise, come out and vote, and send a resounding message that we are not going to allow outsiders. The face of the yes vote is Bob McDevitt. He's local, but the owner of resorts and Ray Lesniak and others who are really backing this movement are outsiders. And we need to make sure that we control what happens in the city of Atlantic City. Those of us who are locals, we need to control our own destiny.
Absolutely. And if you don't think that works, I was just watching the news in Philadelphia where they were supposed to have a safe house where people could come in and basically take their drugs in a safe place. The people were outraged. Mm-hmm. They went bonkers. They went off. You slipped it under us. You bamboozled us. Guess what? They canceled that.
Well, we would do well to learn that lesson from the residents of Philadelphia. You alluded earlier to the creation of the tourism district.
Right.
And everything that was in the tourism district that they think should not be there is being pushed into the neighborhoods. We, as residents in Atlantic City, don't have the same kind of righteous indignation, protests and the sorts that you see in places that you just referenced, like Philadelphia. Anytime you can take Sister Jean's from off of Pacific Avenue and basically move it a half a block from an elementary school, there's a problem with that. But what's the response on the part of the residents? Absolutely nothing. It's crickets. And that's part of the problem. Step by step, incrementally, when they get away with one thing, it emboldens them to move to the next step while we sit back and watch and complain about it to each other. But we don't galvanize in a collective force of unity to stand up and demand how we want to be treated in this community.
Absolutely. And that's what makes the change. In 1982, when the former government was changed, it's because people stood up.
That's correct.
And they made a change. And as a result of that, the first black mayor was elected, Mayor James Ushery, and 101 women, now it's plus.
And I'm a proud plus.
They organized. And that's how the civil rights movement was so effective, because they organized. And people are very nervous when you organize. As long as you complain and you're not doing anything, they don't care.
Absolutely.
But when you organize and you come together, that's what makes people nervous. And that's what makes change. You don't change just by arguing and screaming about what's not being done.
Power concedes nothing without demand.
And so vote makes that change. And I'm looking for the people to go out. I don't live in Atlantic City anymore, but my church is there. I have family members there. And I'm concerned about Atlantic City, because if you start there and you start trying to change that form, well, what's going to stop you from coming into another municipality and changing that form of government?
Precisely.
So you don't do that. This is the American dream. America, we live in the United States of America. We don't live in North Korea. We live in the United States of America, and we have the right to democracy and to pick and to choose who we want. Now, if you don't want that, go to another country. But in America, we're allowed to do these things, so you can't get mad at people who speak out against it. I'm not mad at people who are for it. I just want the no vote to outweigh the yes vote.
And hopefully that'll be the case.
And that'll be the case. We want to thank Mayor Langford for coming. He's a busy man, got things that he has to do, but he did come in on my show today to express his concerns.
Early in the morning. On a Saturday.
What would you like to leave my listening audience before you go?
Just have a wonderful, blessed day, and say to you, thank you for providing me with this forum. And I hope that I have done my part, at least in part, to help spread the word that it is vitally important for us to take March 31st very seriously and get out and do what we must, should, and can do.
And that is vote. All right. Well, thank you, Mayor Langford, for being a part of my program on today. I bid you Godspeed and have a wonderful day. Well, we have a few minutes, and we're going to just continue to talk about what he was saying. I thank the mayor for coming in to talk about Atlantic City and the things, because what happens in Atlantic City affects the other municipalities. And so we are very, very adamant about making changes, but not changing the form of government. Not changing the form of government, which is an elected mayor and council at large. So that was very, very a great conversation to have. If you have any comments, I want you to hit me up on Facebook, and we can share your sentiments or what you think about the conversation and the broadcast on today about not changing the form of government, but getting out there and voting no. Vote no. Now, Nancy Reagan said many years ago, just say no. Now, she was talking about the war on drugs, but I'm saying say no to the vote to change the form of government in Atlantic City. I didn't realize I was there when all of that had taken place. I was younger, but I was there. And I started voting when I was 18, and I was going through some paperwork and saw that I had received a letter from Assemblyman Stephen Persky, congratulating me for signing up to register to vote. Many people have died. They died for us to have the right to vote. And so it would be a disgrace just to sit back and do nothing. And when you don't do anything, you're saying it's all right. Whatever is going to be done. I make sure that I vote in every election. You don't have to. I think that you can make people aware, but you don't have to annoy people. People who vote are going to go out and vote to make sure that their voices are heard. There's going to be a primary in June. Right now, the South Carolina vote is getting ready to take place on who's going to get the most delegates out of South Carolina. In June, it'll be the New Jersey primary, and then our delegates can decide who we want to lead us in our country. Some, depending on what party you are, you already know who's going to lead on the Republican side, but on the Democratic side, your voice being heard would make that determination on who you want to represent you or represent us in the United States of America. And I love the United States of America. We have problems. We're not perfect, and we've done a lot of things that are questionable, but we still have the right. We still have the right to make our voices heard. We have the freedom of the press, and And we can gather as long as it's done peacefully. We have the right to do that as well. In other countries, you don't have the right to do that. You don't have the right. And so let's take advantage of the rights that we already have in the United States of America. If you're not registered, I was talking to someone on the other night and he was not registered. Make sure that you go out and you register. You can register online. You can go to the Landing County Clerk's office. You can download an application to make sure that you're registered to vote. It does matter. Every vote matters. Every vote matters. In some municipalities here, the votes were considered by 2 votes. People won by 2 votes. People won by 15 votes. It makes a difference. Your voice does matter. Now, in the presidential election, we can all vote, but we know that is done by the Electoral College. I believe that however the votes go in your particular state is basically, but not necessarily always true, how the Electoral College can vote for that particular person to be the president of the United States. Get involved, get engaged. Know what's going on at your municipality. Know what's going on at your school board. Know what's going on at the Landing County Freeholder Board. Hold people accountable. It's too much apathy. People just don't care. They're so caught up into what they're doing. Until something happens, then here comes everybody wanting some change to be done. But we all need to be aware of whatever city that you live in. Your council people, your mayor, they should know who you are by name. And if they don't know you, that means you have not done your due diligence in showing up. And you don't always have to show up when things are wrong. I mean, if they're doing something great and you like that, then you need to tell them about that as well. Don't just be on the negative side telling them what's wrong. But when something is being done correctly and you like it, then let them know that as well. So it's important. I don't care if you live in Atlantic City, Pleasantville, Egg Harbor Township, Galloway, Mullica, if you live in Weymouth, Port Buna, Port Republic. You need to know what is going on in your particular municipality where you live at. So that is very, very important. So I encourage you to go to your school board meetings. I encourage you to go to your council, township meetings. I encourage you to go to the Freeholder Board meetings. I encourage you to even go to the state meetings and when it's necessary, and make sure that your voice is being heard, and that and sometimes you may not have nothing to say. And they have made it so available for you now you can look on your local station and find out what's going on if you're not able to make the meeting. Find out what your local station is, and you can watch what goes on and how your representatives are acting, or what they are doing to promote things for the betterment of people in the community. Well, my time is almost up, and I do want to remind everybody that the WEHA, we're going at the end of the month to the Stella Awards, and we want to bring that Stella back home to South Jersey, our 3rd Stella. We got our first one in 2013 and then 2015, and we want to bring another Stella home back to South Jersey. WEHA is definitely in the community. We are community focused, all right? WEHA is out there, and we're out there doing a lot of things. We don't have a Channel 40. We don't have a television station, but we do have WEHA, and certainly I want you to continue to support WEHA. You can go to our website, www.wehavegospel.com. Again, I want to thank February's sponsors for me, the Christ Gospel Church, the Love Center out of Whitesboro, New Jersey, Bishop Edgar Robinson, and First Lady Vanessa Robinson. Thank you so much for sponsoring my show in the community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon. Again, we want to thank our owners, and I do want to give a shout out to Deacon Hawks. He is one of the honorees for the for the NAACP. He's getting an award for the NAACP Freedom Breakfast that's going to be held on April the 25th, along with other honorees. It's my understanding now that Councilman Khalid Shabazz has his own show on WEHA, so tune into his show to find things that are going on with the WEHA, with the NAACP. All right. Well, did you enjoy our program today? I know you did. Thanks for tuning in to In the Community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon right here on your favorite gospel radio station, 2-time Stellar Award-winning radio station, WEHA, 88.7, 100.3 FM. We have gospel. Keep those dials locked to WEHA. We'll see you on next week.